Chapter 5, Increasing Student Achievement, Paradigms and Explanations. Hi, I am Rod Laws, and I am a culturally responsive school leader of the future, and I will be presenting today on some paradigms and explanations for the academic achievement gap. The objective of this presentation is to build on and expand previous work by analyzing 7 paradigms used to explain the achievement gap between white middle class and ethnic minority students. Ethnic revitalization. The purpose of this movement was for there to be social movement and inclusion in mainstream society. Some examples of ethnic revitalization: affirmative action, desegregation, bilingual education, and culturally responsive teaching. And that's why we're here, to be not only culturally responsive teachers, but also culturally responsive school leaders. So when did all this assessment stuff begin? The 1990s were the decade of the assessment. Now, are there any examples of non-marginalized minorities? Why, yes, there are. Asian Americans, such as American Indians, Chinese, and Japanese Americans. I found this nice little picture. Remember, Bob, statistics of student achievement are in the eye of the manipulator. What this means to me is that anybody can go and spit out data. I can go right now and make sure that everybody passes, because I want my data to show that everybody passed. If I wanted to, I could manipulate that data. So data is a manipulative. But the point is, not only should we look at data, but we should look at what we can do to bridge the gap. The academic achievement gap. What have social scientists done? Well, they came up with 7 paradigms that explain the academic achievement gap and to devise school reforms to reduce it. The misconception is that the academic achievement gap describes the standardized test scores desegregated by race, in which we know this is not the case. The academic achievement gap even more. So what's the definition of this academic achievement gap? They are the consequences of the gap in high-stakes testing, dropout rates, gifted student class enrollment, and college admission. The Stanford University Center of Education Policy Analysis said the achievement gap between rich and poor is double that of whites and blacks. I found that to be very interesting. And there's a video that we're going to show about culturally responsive school leaders. No Child Left Behind. The purpose of No Child Left Behind was to address the academic gap between white middle class and low-income minority students. No Child Left Behind, it holds the school districts accountable for student achievement. The states formulate rigorous standards for math, science, and reading for grades 3 through 8. And the assessment results will be desegregated by race, poverty, AIG, economically advantaged or disadvantaged, etc. Now, let's talk about all these paradigms, shall we? The first paradigm is the genetic paradigm, aka genetic superiority and scientific racism paradigm. There are distinct racial groups that have superior abilities to other groups based on their genetics and heredity. For example, white people are smarter than black people because of their genetics and where they were born. I compare it to social natural selection, where it says survival of the smartest. Paradigm number 2, the cultural deprivation paradigm. Social environment influences cognition and social behavior. For example, a child from one project will not be as cognitive as somebody from the suburbs. Poverty, fatherless homes, and social disorganization are the causes of the cultural deprivation paradigm. Now, the culture of the student is to blame and not the school culture. Students of color have cultural deficits. Now, the third paradigm is the cultural difference paradigm, aka the multicultural education paradigm. Schools fail to help these ethnic minorities and low-income students because they do not know their culture. Schools must find ways to reflect and respect on the cultural differences. In other words, schools must learn to respect on the culture. Being able to bridge the academic gap is a solution of effective teaching of minorities. Multicultural education is the key to educational equality. Now, the fourth paradigm is the cultural ecology paradigm, aka racial minorities. There are two groups that make up the cultural ecology paradigm. Voluntary or immigrants. Now, these people are looking for better opportunities and will therefore be more academically successful. And the second group is the involuntary or the case-like. And these people experience institutional racism and discrimination and have therefore not accepted mainstream institutions and values. In the educational realm, there are factors that victimize minorities. For example, being the only minority in the AP class, like myself in high school. The fifth paradigm is the protective disidentification paradigm. Now, group stereotypes threaten a minority's sense of self. It creates self-doubt and self-hatred. Black kids are not as smart as Asian kids in math. Or, girls are weaker than boys in math. These are two examples of those group stereotypes. Now, studies have shown that when black students are told to take a test for intellectual ability, they perform worse than when they're told that it's not for intellectual ability. So what do we need? We need an environment with a low possibility of failure. Paradigm number 6 is known as the structural paradigm, also known as the residential segregation paradigm. Now, when disparities are funded, now when we say disparities, we're talking about things like African American male initiatives in the school. That is a source of inequality. Now, the more white students there are in a school or anywhere, the more funding will come that way. Now, white students are the most racially segregated group. They attend schools that are 80% white or more. Hispanics are the most segregated minority group. Although they are combined very well, mixed in very well with the African American population, linguistic segregation is a cause of their segregation as a minority. Now, what closes the gap? Social and economic change to the social structure. Paradigm number 7 is the effective schools paradigm. Schools can and do make a difference in the academic and social lives of the students. Now, some characteristics of effective schools are as follows. They are safe and orderly environments. Orientation focused on identifying and solving problems. They have high faculty input in their decision making. There's a school-wide emphasis on recognizing positive performance. Now, some thoughts and opinions on student achievement that were made by others. Urban schools must and can be reformed because They are the only hope for children who live in inner city communities to escape poverty and become productive members in society. And another thought on this student achievement is high quality teachers who are committed to serving ethnic minority students and low income students are the key to student academic achievement. I found this nice little interesting drawing. So today, we're running schools based on old structures, old systems, old beliefs, and old research. But in order for us to increase the academic achievement gap, to bridge the gap, for the future, we need to have new structures, new systems, new beliefs, and new research. Some conclusions and final thoughts. There is a need for a multi-factor paradigm. So we need an eighth paradigm that has all of these 7 explanations in one. The No Child Left Behind and Race to the Top initiatives, they ignore structural and cultural differences. They're only focused on the data. So we don't have any kind of indicator for cultural differences within our schools. Now, I came up with this nice equation. It says several paradigms times economic reform equals increased student achievement. So if we multiply those paradigms by economic reform, we'll have some student achievement increases. And now we're going to take a brief quiz. I'm going to pause these. You also have these on a sheet of paper. Question number 1 states, which paradigm says black children are not as smart as Asian children? A, the cultural difference paradigm. B, the protective disidentification paradigm. C, the effective schools paradigm. Or D, the cultural ecology paradigm. Question number 2. The consequences of the gap in high-stakes testing, dropout rates, gifted student class enrollment, and college admission is also known as A, the No Child Left Behind Act, B, the Race to the Top initiative, C, the academic achievement gap, or D, the genetic paradigm. Question number 3. Which paradigm has voluntary and involuntary minorities? A, genetic paradigm, B, the cultural difference paradigm, C, the effective schools paradigm, or D, the cultural ecology paradigm. Question number 4. Which paradigm premises the more white students a school has, the more funding it gets? A, cultural difference paradigm, B, the genetic paradigm, C, the effective schools paradigm, or D, the structural paradigm. And question number 5. Which paradigm premises the survival of the smartest by natural selection? A, genetic paradigm, B, the cultural difference paradigm, C, the effective schools paradigm, or D, the cultural ecology paradigm. And once we finish this quiz, here go our responses. The answers that are in italics are the correct responses to the following questions. I hope you got a 5 out of 5. This has been Rod Laws, your culturally responsive school leader of the future, signing out.